Hey gang, I'm going to put a link to a video down in the description box below. It's a video link to a First Amendment audit that Mexican Padilla did today. It's about 20 something minutes long. If you skip to the middle like 10 or 12 minutes and watch that last part where he gets arrested, that is the part of which I'm going to talk about here right now. Now, many of you may have saw it already. If you did not, again, you can go click the link to watch it, see what I'm talking about. It's about Mexican Padilla and his First Amendment audit, which, for those who may not know, a First Amendment audit is where you audit a government agency or any business. You can audit private businesses if you're on a public sidewalk. And we audit them for their reception to the First Amendment right to free press and free speech. The reason I think it's important to do that is, for one, to educate people on what the boundaries of free speech and free press are, i.e., you can film anything you can see from public, like a sidewalk or a public place or a public lobby in a government office, something like that. But it's also to let public officials know that we as Americans will not let you diminish or restrict our right to free press. Like, we're Americans, we're going to do what we want to do. We are exerting our right to free press. Some people think it's harassment. It's not. It's just us saying, look, I'm an American. You're not going to hinder me doing what I'm allowed to do under the U.S. Constitution. And here, under the California Constitution, Article 1, Section 2. So, that said, Mexican Padilla goes in Leon Valley, Texas, to the police department there, and he begins to audit them. Well, first of all, and I'm just going to do a quick run through here, he's auditing outside on the sidewalk, and this one officer pulls up in a car, skids and honks, almost hits him. He's a pedestrian. So they already, one of the police officers already has an attitude. So Padilla goes back into the police department. He's wants a complaint form because this guy almost hit him with the car, and you can see it on cam. It was pretty rude. So he goes in for a complaint form. They're kind of saying, well, we'll find you a complaint form, and they're looking and taking their time. He decides he's going to go in the back and audit around the police department lobby, which he's allowed to do. It's public access, and there's a double door there, and he goes, what's in here? And you can hear one of the employees, because she's behind a counter, say, oh, that's administration hallway. Yeah, could you push the door? It just says something in reference to pushing the door. Go through. Yeah, it's open to the public. So he goes in there believing this is open to the public. Here is where the problem starts. Now, a lot of you are going to be mad at me for this, but understand, in my position here, I do respect and support Mexican Padilla. I really do. But I also know that as humans, we tend to err. I make errors. I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. I do audits sometimes, and when I'm watching them back, I think I should have did this, or I could have did that better. It's easier to quarterback when you're watching than when you're out there doing it. So I'm going to quarterback a little bit here from my chair, Mexican Padilla's arrest here. Now, as he's back there, you'll see a person come out in a red polo shirt who we later learn is the police chief. That's actually the police chief, Joe. I don't remember his last name. Joseph. But that's the police chief. So he comes out. He says, hey, what are you doing here? Mexican Padilla kind of ignores him. He says, hey, what are you doing? He won't speak English to the police chief. He says, this is a restricted area. You've got to leave. Now, here's where some of you may disagree with me. That's okay. It's just, this is in my humble opinion. This is where Mexican Padilla, I believe, should have said, well, one of your employees out there not only said that this is open to the public, but she told me I just have to push the doors and walk through. So I didn't know it was restricted. One of your employees said, yeah, you can go back there, just push the door. I'm sure the police chief would have spoken to him, and they would have went back and forth a little bit, and maybe he would have said, okay, well, if it's restricted, I'm leaving, and he would have left. That probably could have been a way to de-escalate. That's not what happens. So Mexican Padilla begins to act, not act, but he begins to not speak English to him. The police chief's getting frustrated. He finally says, "You got to go. Get out of here." And Mexican Padilla becomes very agitated, begins screaming at him, cursing at him. Now, I'm not worried about the language, the profanity and all that. That's his style. That's not a problem for me. But the thing is, he never, I don't hear, says, "Hey, one of your employees said I could come back here," until he's being arrested. And then you hear him say, "She told me I could come back here," or something to the effect of, "She let me come back here," while he's already on the floor being arrested. Well, it's too late, in my opinion, to say it at that time. He should have said that up front, said, "Well, is it restricted?" "No, one of your employees said I could come back here." He should have did that up front. It's a learning lesson. Some of you may ask why I'm even doing this blog. Simply, I'm trying to educate not only myself, because I also learn from watching this over and over to think, if I ever get in a position like that, here's what I might do. And I'm learning. I'm teaching myself by watching others. But I'm also using this to maybe teach some of you. Look, when you get confronted, if someone tells you you can go somewhere and a police officer comes out and says, "You can't be here," no. Instead of arguing and cussing him, maybe say, "She told me I could be over here. Which one of you are right? Which one of you are wrong?" Okay, spark up a dialogue. Okay, spark up a conversation. Say, "Well, are you right or is she right? Because she said I could come back here." Okay, instead of cursing and ignoring, "Well, I'm going to do the silent treatment. I'm not even going to talk to you. I'm not, put the blame on the other person." But he didn't do that until he was being arrested. And at that point, I think it was too late. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. I want to get your opinions on this in your comments. Be kind. Be kind, okay? Because some of you aren't sometimes. But be kind. I'm just trying to open dialogue here to see, who thought this or who thought that. Let me know. News Now, Ukaipa. I love you guys. I do support you guys, even though we may not all disagree. I mean, we may not all agree. We may not all disagree either. Maybe we agree. But we may not all agree on everything. But I still do support cop watchers and First Amendment auditors. And I believe everybody should be held accountable. Always film your contact with a law enforcement officer. If you ever hear anybody say Leo, that's a law enforcement officer. Always film your contact with them. Talk to you later.